Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we are jumping right into a really fascinating, factual, and chronological look at 2 months of camera trap data tracking the local hedgehog population in Malakand. By looking closely at timestamped images from late June straight through August 2023, we could objectively track their activity times, their social interactions, the environmental shifts they make, and even some really specific physical traits. So what can camera trap data actually reveal about hedgehog behavior in Malakand? Well, these unblinking cameras give us this incredibly raw, unfiltered window into their daily routines and habitat usage. And as you'll see, over just a single summer, this objective data shows a pretty surprising shift in their social dynamics. It's almost like watching a mystery unfold entirely through data points, showing us exactly how these animals adapt when they think absolutely no one is watching. Here is the exact factual timeline we're looking at for our study window. We kick things off on day 1, which is June 27th, check back in a few days later on July 1st, and then we take a big jump to late summer, analyzing data from day 64 on August 29th, right through to day 66 on August 31st. Okay, let's dive into our very first data point. It's June 27th, exactly 15:38 in the afternoon, and the temperature is sitting at a warm 85 degrees Fahrenheit. Notice the specific behavior right here. We've got a solitary hedgehog, totally alone, using the thick cover of this dense, tall grass to forage during the daylight hours. This basically establishes our early summer baseline. Fast forward just a bit to July 1st. Now the timestamp reads 21:48. It is completely dark out, nighttime, and a little bit cooler at 80 degrees. But look at this. Despite the shift to night, the behavior is dead on consistent. The subject is still completely solitary and still firmly planted right in the cover of that exact same tall, thick grass. Now, mapping this data out chronologically like this reveals a really stark transition. In late June and early July, these hedgehogs were strictly solitary, hanging out in the tall grass during the afternoon and the night. But then, look at late August. The data completely flips. Their activity shifts heavily to the early morning, their behavior transitions to paired social activity, and their whole environment changes from tall grass to wide open ground. Putting these visuals side by side really hammers home how dramatic this transition is. Over on the left, you've got our early July capture, just a single subject hidden away in the thick grass at night. But on the right, from August 29th, the contrast is undeniable. We no longer have a solitary animal hiding out, we have a pair, completely exposed on flat, bare, open ground. Let's zoom in on that late August timeframe to see how this builds. It's August 29th, 06:33 in the early morning, and it's 83 degrees. What we're looking at is undeniable visual evidence of social interaction. These aren't just two hedgehogs coincidentally crossing paths. They are consistently captured moving together, navigating this highly exposed terrain as a pair. That solitary hidden foraging from June and July is just completely replaced by this paired dynamic out in the open. And by August 31st, this paired behavior is absolutely locked in. It's 8:29 in the morning, and the temperature is already hitting a very warm 89 degrees Fahrenheit. But get this, despite that rising heat from the morning sun, they are still highly active in pairs, and they are still choosing to walk right across that completely open ground. Whatever's actually driving this paired morning activity, it's clearly strong enough to override both the heat and the total lack of vegetative cover. Now, beyond just their habits and their environment, these camera traps also systematically recorded their physical traits. On the morning of August 29th, a subject wandered close enough to the lens to give us a really objective look at its morphology. Specifically, you have to note the prominently large ears. In proportion to their body and face, these ears are highly distinctive, and it's a clear physical characteristic systematically documented by the trap. Just to confirm that observation, we have this additional frame captured literally within the same minute on August 29th. Even when the subject gets incredibly close to the lens, almost filling the entire frame, those large ears remain the absolute most distinctive and identifiable physical characteristic in our dataset. It adds this incredibly rich layer of physical reality to the behavioral transition we've been analyzing. So, let's quickly review our key factual findings from the data. First, the documented activity times actually spanned the afternoon, the night, and the early morning. Second, we saw a measurable, definitive shift from solitary behavior straight into paired social activity. Third, there was that clear environmental transition from the tall grass to the open ground. And finally, the traps recorded prominent physical traits, most notably those characteristically large ears. The camera trap data absolutely locks down the what, the when, and the where. But what about the why? What specific seasonal or environmental factors are hitting Malakand between early July and late August to drive such a dramatic shift? I mean, why transition from a solitary life hidden in tall grass to navigating exposed open ground in pairs during the warm morning hours? Understanding that is the crucial next step in decoding their complex lives. I'm going to leave you to ponder that one. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer.